Good morning. We are Reseller Revenue. Check us out on Patreon and YouTube and Instagram. And we're going to talk about discounts and promotions today. So we've done a whole series based on eBay 101, eBay refresher course. And today is all about discounts, which is like coupons, markdowns, um, call them sales, stuff like that. And then also promoted listings, which I get questions on all the time. So I'm hoping I can clear up some of it. Although my answer is probably not going to be as clear as what you want because it is so individually based. But I think a lot of this all boils down to cash flow. So I think a lot of this about sales, markdowns, all of those good things, it's really just about cash flow because if we don't have cash flow, we don't have a business. So we need to make sure that we're not losing money when we're setting up discounts and promoted listings, but we also need to make sure we're not costing ourselves sales by not using all the tools that eBay gives us and not being too conservative with it. So it's easy to get caught up thinking that, my item is special. My item requires that one buyer so it can sit there, and that's possible. It could. But the real question is, what price or discount will cause me to have a sale today? Because having that instant turnover, those sales that just keep coming, that's how we get to be full-time on eBay. So I don't know a lot of full-time eBayers that aren't really playing the volume game and aren't selling a lot of items every day and just keeping their money turning. And I get that there are some I'm sure that are, but for the most part, if you're going to be full-time, we need to be making those sales and turning your money over quick. So we've all heard about that we can do this on places like Whatnot or other live selling platforms. And that's true. You can have that today money on those platforms. But if we would mark our prices down or play the promoted and discount game on eBay, if that's the kind of razor thin margins we're going for, we could do that on eBay just as easy. So a lot of the people that are selling on Whatnot, but we save our good stuff for eBay, are really not wanting to take those offers. We don't want to take the discounts. We don't want to promote our listings, but really the profit margins end up being way larger on eBay most of the time. So we want to make sure that it's not just about always getting the huge price and the most money. It's about moving our inventory and getting our cash flowing and keeping it flowing. Because if at any point that like water wheel of cash stops, so does our business and our sourcing. And it's just kind of like a domino effect all the time that we have to watch out for on eBay. And it's not necessarily a fun process of eBay. And some people refer to it as kind of a rat race. And that's really kind of accurate. It kind of ends up being a little bit of a race. So when we are talking about eBay and we're talking about keeping our cash flowing and making sure that our stock is always giving us the most money for what we're putting into it and also our time, right? Because all of us could be clocking in at a different job and we could be making 20, 30, even more dollars an hour somewhere else. We want to make sure that we're making that kind of money on eBay too. So I think if people aren't seeing our items, which is what promoted listings does, then they can't buy our items. So that ends up being, an issue right off the top. If we aren't showing up in that search because people are searching from low to high or high to low, or however people are searching for your particular item, that's also an issue. And a lot of these issues can be solved by learning how to use these tools that eBay gives us. So if we are too worried about the tight margins that sales and promoted listings give us, that is absolutely a buying issue, not necessarily a selling issue. So just remember that if you're listening to these types of things I'm showing you today and you're going, I can't afford to do that, I'll be losing money, then we need to go back to a sourcing issue. You're not buying your items correctly. So we want to keep turning these over, and the visibility is key. So how do we know if our item is visible? So go into incognito mode and look for what somebody would type in to find an item you've listed in the last week. And then see where you're listed, see where you're landing. Are you over page 2 or 3? If that's true, are people going to search to page 2 or 3 to find your items? Usually not. So then what happens? Then we got to figure out how to get ourselves moved up. And that's what promoted listings does. It's simply paying to get that visibility that we want on eBay. That's all promoted listings is. We're just paying for that spot. So also maybe you could have a friend show them pictures of like 3 things you listed last week and say, hey, look for these items on eBay and tell me how far you had to scroll to find them. Sometimes I guarantee you won't even be able to find your item. And that's frustrating because that means other buyers are potentially not finding your item either. So do this a few times and just see. And if you're consistently not finding your items right away, that means your items are too hard for buyers to find. If you have a unique item that people are typing in specifically to find, sometimes we don't even need promoted listings. Sometimes they're going to, if you have a really rare antique, you have a one-off item that there aren't hardly any listed on eBay. That is very possible. But if you're in a sea of thousands and thousands of similar items, we have to do something to get ourselves up to that first page or two. So we need to know that it's out there to at least get the opportunity to be seen, for the opportunity to be bought. So your niche and my niche might be totally different on how much we have to promote. I have realized through testing that I absolutely have to promote high in my niche to get seen and to get the sales volume I want. I highly recommend that you do testing in your own store for at least a month at a time, and not a small section of items, but maybe your whole store. If you're a niche down store, it's going to be a lot harder if you're an everything seller to do this, but for a month at a time with a large portion of items, because get skewed and not be real accurate data for moving forward. Let's see what, let's say 10% gets you for a month. What kind of sales? How much are you putting in to get out? What's your return on investment on promoted listings on eBay? If mine's at least 5, so that means for every $5 I'm putting into promoted, or for every dollar I'm putting into promoted listings, I'm getting at least 5 in return. I'm happy with that because that's a great return on investment. That's like advertising dollars for our eBay store. That's all promoted listing is. We are paying to advertise. And in the big world, in corporate America, 30% is a really good promotion percentage for advertising budget. So for me to put in $1 and get 5 back, that's fantastic for me. So can you afford the higher promotion? So now I'm going to check out, see what 12 does, and then 15, and then maybe 17, and maybe 20. And at some point, you're going to see a diminishing return. For me, anything over 22%, so I'm not saying that's what I promote at. I'm saying anything over that, I don't get enough sales extra to accommodate for the price, right? So it's kind of this triangle. You'll see, oh, I'm getting more sales. I'm getting more sales. It's worth it. I'm getting more sales than what I'm putting in. And you'll see it grow, 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 and then it'll hit a stopping point where it's just not worth it. It's not paying itself back enough, right? Because you don't want to sell more items just to sell more items. You want to sell more items to get money back for that promotion and then some. We're all in this for profit, not just for churning. Everybody knows I like to harp about, are we churning or are we earning? If you're just churning money, that's no good. We want to earn money. That's good. So if you can't afford the higher promotion rate, but you see that your category demands it, then you need to go back to your sourcing. Why? Why are your margins so tight? We don't want to play in those tight of margins. That means we're probably buying wrong, right? So do these individualized store tests. I don't necessarily believe in going right to the, whatever it tells us to the suggested rate. I don't really think that's usually correct. But sometimes if you're like way far apart from that, maybe you want to look at going up, right? So if you're complaining you have slow sales, you have big periods of dead time, if you have a very slow sell-through rate store, but you feel like your items are good, you may want to look at increasing your promoted listing rate and see what that does for you. Do not make knee-jerk reactions with this. You can't increase it and go, oh, I didn't see enough, I backed it down. Or see, wow, that took a lot of money, back it back down. You have to give it time. So I would suggest a month, because otherwise you're not going to really know. The power of a good item in quick sales. So once you promote your items and you price them correctly, you're going to start seeing those sales roll in. Good items sell quickly and they sell consistently when people can see them. If you jack up your promoted listings and they're still not moving, maybe your items aren't as good as you think they are, or maybe they're priced incorrectly. So there's something wrong. If you get your promotions and your price dialed in and you have good items, those sales are going to come and they're going to keep coming. And it's like turning on a water faucet, and it will not stop if you keep feeding it good items at good prices with the right promotion rate. I believe that. I never buy into this whole eBay's slow, eBay's broken, eBay's not giving me my traffic. And there's no reason why. I don't believe it. If you're feeding eBay consistently good items, good price at the right promoted rate, your sales turn on. My sales are super consistent. Is it because I'm selling the same thing all the time? No, but they're good items at good prices and the right promoted rate. So I sell about the same amount of items every single day. Pretty darn close. But I also feed into eBay the same amount of good items every single day. It's all based on consistency. So then we come down to like offers and prices. And so we get started feeding this traffic. eBay's going to feed us traffic because now they see us rolling it over and converting into sales. They will keep giving you this traffic unless you say no. How can we say no? We can say no like by stopping offers, right? So if you give me a brand new $50 item I just listed today, I just put it up, I get a $40 offer in 10 minutes. That's a hell yeah, right? So Megan, our group, is good about saying, hell yeah, I'm taking it, right? So I'm going to say that's a hell yeah. I'm on it. I'm excited about it. I'm taking it. And people say, but I just listed it 10 minutes ago. Well, if you paid $2 to $5 for this item, you listed it for 50 and somebody's offering you $40, that is a huge, wonderful rate of return on your money. And by getting your money back for that item and a profit, now we live another day. That's what it's all about. That's about earning money, not churning money, and putting it back into the business. Now we can buy more items that are even better. And we just keep doing that process and peel off the profit to pay ourselves. If you get a $35 offer, maybe that's not like as excited of a yes, but it's probably still a yes for me, even if it's the same day, because that is a great return on my investment still. If we say no, eBay, I don't want your money. I don't want your money, eBay. I just want every time we say no, if it was a reasonable offer, which to me, a reasonable offer is within 33% or less, for whatever reason, that's my metric I've made. I automatically accept it. Does not matter. I'm accepting it. Doesn't matter when I listed it. It does not make any difference to me. I'm taking it, right? I don't even look at the item if the offer is 33% or better. I'm not even looking to see what it is because it doesn't matter because I'm taking it. So if we're getting stuck on those small dollars, though, we start splitting hairs with eBay. Say, no, I don't want your 20% off offer. I just listed this item. Imagine eBay giving you a huge eye roll, because that is what eBay's doing. eBay is eye rolling you. They are like, whatever. Eventually, they're going to get sick of you and they're going to quit sending that traffic to you because you're saying, nope, I don't want it. You're turning away their customers. They're going to give those customers to somebody else. I really believe that. So if we embrace the tools that eBay gives us, both in promoted listings and in discounts, I feel like that feeds eBay, eBay feeds you. It's just a never-ending circle. Sometimes we refer to it as a grind, and it is a grind. There's just no doubt about it. eBay's a grind. And if you're not willing to play that grind game and you want to go full-time, it may not be for you, because it's all about taking those reasonable offers, giving reasonable offers, running sales, running promotions, and doing it all full bore as hard as you can. That's what full-time eBay looks like. It's not fun and it's not easy. It's just what it is. It's about constantly keeping that water faucet on a sales and feeding eBay with the same consistency. Also in this, bad items are going to drag you down. So when I'm talking about markdown sales, I'm going to talk about discounts, promoted listings. We have a whole bunch of bad items in our store. I truly believe that is weighing our store down like big old cement block. And then I'll hear, but I have all the space in the world. Well, that's good, because now all your money is stacked up on those shelves, holding it down. And if you're okay, every time you look at your, let alone unlisted inventory, and we don't even want to talk about that. So unlisted inventory, go look at that pile and just visualize all that cash. Then go look at your listed inventory. Just because it's listed doesn't mean it's not your money. It's still just stacks of cash lined up on that shelf. And that stack of cash for me better turn over at least once every 6 months, preferably twice. And I know I can get eBay to do that for me. When I'm listing, before I increased my listing goal this last time, I was selling as many as I was listing constantly, consistently, sometimes more. So then my store was shrinking. But once I increased, it took a little while for it to come back up, but it's coming back up. So that means I'm turning my store every 90 days is what I want it to do. And I know I can get it to do that. But 6 months, anything past that's just not acceptable to me. So if you're holding on to those items and you're rejecting offers at the same time, that just doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't. I'm not a storage unit. I don't want to have a museum of whatever I'm selling. I want to turn them over and get my money back, get some profit back, and do it again. So if you have really bad items in your store that just won't sell, we've all heard that I put them on 50% off. They're not selling. They're not selling because they're not good items. Take them out of your store. Just I realize it's hard when we spend our hard-earned money on it, and now we're saying to donate them or whatnot, but we have to just be able to cut ties with it, say goodbye, and it will help the health of our store. Also think about your store as a regular store that we shop in, that we actually physically go into. If you see those racks up front and you go in again, it's the same clothes. You go in again, it's the same clothes. And then they maybe mark it down. Let's say these people aren't marking it down until 90 days. For 3 months, you've walked in that store and you've seen the same clothes hanging there in front of your face. And then you see that, ooh, they're going to give me 20% off at 90 days. Wow, that's generous, right? Eventually what happens? You're going to quit going into that store. Well, that's what happens on eBay. You have the same stale inventory sitting there, the same stale, and then like you're maybe going to give me 20% off at 90 days. And then you maybe give me 30% off at 6 months. Just imagine somebody going into your store every single week, shopping like people do, want to spend money, and the same clothes are hanging there in that store. People are eventually not going to want to go anymore because you just have a stale store. That's what I feel like eBay is. If you keep it fresh and you keep it moving and you keep those sales going and you keep the discounts going when they hasn't sold yet, people are interested in those kind of stores. They're interested in that kind of inventory. They're not interested in stale inventory that just hangs there, right? So first we're going to talk about discounts. So that's what we call markdowns, sales, coupons. I have my own personal theory about some of these, but if you are a store subscriber, you can take advantage of the discounts manager, which I'm going to show you. I'm going to share my screen and show you. But sales are a good way to clear stock, encourages sales during slow periods. It just helps get things moving, right? I do believe you get a temporary boost in the algorithm anytime a sale starts or stops, which helps. I'm not going to lie. Let me share my screen here, and I'm going to show you how you will set up a sale in your store. So if we go to markdowns here, and right here is the marketing tab. And in the marketing tab, we can go to discounts. So this gives us our choice of what kind of discounts we would like to offer. Right here in the right-hand corner, we go to create discount. And here's where we can create a coupon, an order discount, a sale event, which is also like a markdown sale, shipping discount, or volume pricing. So to create a coupon, it's very, very easy. Now, here is something I see people make the mistake of a lot is they'll say, well, I made this coupon private. How come people are using it when I didn't give it to them? Just because it's private does not mean it's not visible to everybody. And if you hover over this little eye here, your coupon visibility controls who can find it and use it. Create a public coupon to let any buyer find and use it. Share them with specific buyers only. However, if you go to the private coupon, somewhere in here, it will tell you that it doesn't limit them to use it. It's just how it's automatically visible. So anyone can still use this private coupon code. It's not exclusive. So just know that. I find coupons do not work as good for me as sales, but I think it's because let's say you put a 25% off coupon on everything, and I have a 25% off sale instead, like comparing. If you search low to high in search, my sale items are going to be way up there on that 25% off. But those coupon ones are still going to be wherever that original price is in the low to high search. So if you sell in a niche where people search low to high, we need to be aware that your coupon price does not bump you up in that search, because you're still going to be just on you're still going to be based on your original price. So you're not going to get that bump in search from low to high, which is fine. You're not necessarily need to have that. But if you want to place higher in that kind of search, you need to do a sale, not a coupon. Coupon also, the good thing about coupons is it cannot be mixed with offers. So it doesn't stack on an offer. So if you have a coupon for 25% off and they offer you 20% or whatever, it's not 45%. They don't stack. They can't use both. However, offers do get stacked on markdown sales. So if you have an offer out there and the item was already on sale, that offer is on top of what it was on sale for. So you got to know what stacks in eBay and which doesn't. So you just put your percentage in here, your dates. It's very self-explanatory. I just let it generate my coupon code, but you can make up your own. And then you could do manual or rule-based. So you can choose the items that are going to be on the coupon, or you can do the rule. And here's where you could do some filters. Usually I do it store-wide, but you could do it category. So you could choose by eBay category. You could do it by store category, whatever you want to do. I always use eBay categories. I do not create my own. So I'm not going to do one because I don't want to have a coupon. But here I can do order discount. This is where we go in and we can choose, and you can do it by category. So you can choose which category you're having. I usually do all my inventory. And here it's like spend 10, you know, get $10 off, 50 bucks, you get the percentage, and you can change the percentage to what you want, or you can change dollar to what you want, or you can do it by quantity. I see a lot of people do, you save 10, 15, even 20% off 3. To me, that is not getting me excited, right? I'm not going to go buy 3 or 4 items in one store just to save like 10% or 20%. Like, I don't know why, but that just does not get me all excited. If I'm going to maybe spend more money in a store to get a discount, it better be 25% or more. That's my opinion as a buyer. I buy a lot of stuff on eBay. If I'm not getting at least a 25% discount, I'm not going to spend more and buy more in your store. That is just my opinion. Doesn't mean it's not true, but we have to think about, as buyers, when we are buying on eBay, what makes us want to buy more? Does 10% make you want to buy more? 15%? Like, I'm not even opening those offers because that's nothing to me, right? The 25% starts to get my attention. Buy one, get one at whatever. I've seen a lot of people do buy one, get one free, buy one, get one half off. If you think about it, if you're doing buy one, get one half off, basically it's 25% off each item. I personally, in my store, have had zero success at the not zero, but very little success at these quantity discounts, but that could be my niche, just could be my store. Everybody's different. So you can definitely got to try to mess with it yourself and see what really gets you those sales. So let's try another one. Discounts here. So we have created discount. The sale event, this is the markdown sale, right? So you can do it different percentages based on how old your item is. You can do different percentages based on the whole store. And I will tell you how I do mine here after I explain just how to, mechanically operate these here. If you check bar this, it's going to add in items that maybe didn't qualify before. So maybe you had offers out on them and it couldn't be changed. When the offer drops off, it's going to put it in. I always uncheck both of these boxes. That's just me, because then you can't manually override it either. So you'll have to end the whole entire sale to get them to change the price. So I uncheck these boxes here because I don't like doing that. You have to do start and stop time. And again, manual or rule based. I'm going to cancel that because I have all my sales on right now the way I want them. Same way with shipping discount. I have a shipping discount all the time. And I personally do free shipping on $50 and over orders. So the way I have that set up here is a minimum purchase amount, and I do $50, and I don't specify the date range, and do free shipping standard, and I do all inventory for that. Actually, I don't. I think I have lots blocked. Yeah, I just have my regular jewelry categories on that. So also, if you do this under your shipping policies, if you have shipping policies, you need to check the box promotion shipping, like promoted discounts, so that you know the shipping discounts apply. If you don't check that box, it gets wonky and it won't usually do it correct. So all the time. So make sure you check that box inside your shipping policies, or it doesn't really work very well. So here we have our create discounts, and the volume pricing. Again, it's pretty similar to what we just talked about. Like, buy 2 items, save 10%, buy 3 items, get this. I've not had a lot of luck with this in my store, but some people do. But a lot of the people that say they have luck with this are people that don't run aggressive sales anyway. I run aggressive sales, I run aggressive promotions. So this isn't going to move the needle for me, right? But if you're one that's really tight with your promoted and your discounts and stuff, this may really generate you more sales, and you may notice it because maybe you're not getting the sales you could be getting because you're too tight with your promotions or your discounts. This is only, again, I'm talking to full-timers that want to make full-time income. I truly believe we have to do these types of things. So the way I do it, I do them on the fly. So here I'm going to go to my active listings because I need to see how long Monday through Thursday my particular sales are on sale according to how long they've been listed on eBay. all of my SKUs are date based. So here I have 006 as my very first one. That's in March. That's the oldest item in my store right now, right? It's too old. Gonna probably take it out soon. But when I was doing my sales for this morning, for Monday through Thursday, I go through and whatever my date is at the top of this, I have it filtered down to 100 and I sorted by SKU by clicking this box. We can sort any of these boxes that have arrows in them by clicking them. So if I click it again, it's going to give me my newest items listed, right? Or it's going to give me from my SKU table, which actually means my newer ones are going to be at the bottom. But anyway, so you can sort by SKU. I'm sorting here. These are my old ones, right? So then I can go over here and do 100 at a time based on these dates, right? And I keep the date numbers behind my SKU number, so I always know when I listed it. And then I go to sell faster and I go add or review discounts. So it's going to say I can't. It's going to have it grayed out because I already have it, right? But here I can go add sale event and I can add it on the fly. And I do this because then I can see the date everything was listed. It's a lot harder to do that inside the module. So I can just add the sale event on the fly while I'm looking at the listings. So then I can do, okay, I always have, I wrote it down this morning what I did so that anything that was listed in September got put on 15%, August 20, July was 25, June was 30, anything listed in May is on 35%, April's 40%, anything older than that when it was listed is on 50% off sale. So, and then people say, oh my gosh, are you taking offers on top of that? Yeah, I sure am. Because I like to make sales and I buy in a way that I can afford to do that. So I'm ready to sell. I have the margins. I can do it. If you can't, then don't do what I do, right? This isn't right for everyone. This is right for me. So this is how I do it. And then I would go on to page 2. So I just go up here, go to see what's going on page 2. And it's probably stuff in April. And yep, there's April. So I'll just I would click the box and I would go to sell faster and I would add on a sale or you can add it to it as an existing sale and it'll let you do that on the fly too. So that's how I set up my sales. That is what I do there. And then on promoted listing end of it, I don't know that I'm going to share my percentage because then everybody's going to be wanting to do it and everybody's going to be like, how come I'm broke and you told me to do it at this level? So you would do promoted listing campaign here and you would go to, no, not there, just to the promoted listing is where you go here, the advertising dashboard, and you go to campaigns. And that's how you set up your promoted listing. You can do it on certain items, or you can do a campaign, which will take everything moving forward that you are listing within the parameters that you say will now be in that campaign. So then you don't assign each individual item that you're listing moving forward into that a separate promoted listing. It's just everything's going to be under that campaign. That's how I do it. I don't have time to be messing around with promoted listings here, there, and everywhere. I just do campaigns. One thing I'll say that I think is kind of, I mean, it's not irritating, but it's an issue sometimes is when people say, well, I have tiered promoted listings, which I kind of understand the reasoning behind that. But for me, I want to have the best chance to sell my item right out of the gate. I don't need to wait 2 weeks, 3 months, whatever, to have the best opportunity to sell my items. I want the very best opportunity right now, today, the minute that I list my item. So I don't play the whole tiered thing, but if you do, it is not wrong. It's just a different way of looking at it. So if you are doing your promotions and you're doing your discounts and things still aren't selling, then you have to look at the quality of your inventory. That's all there is to it. If you are comping your items and you're in with the sold listings, not the listed, with the solds, and you still don't have the cash flow you need, and you're sitting there like, you know, I just don't have any cash. I don't have any money. And then what happens is people start dipping into their personal money. And in my opinion, that is stealing from your family. So unless you're just starting and you give yourself a set seed amount of money, that's a little different. We have to get started. But I mean, we have a set amount of money. You should be able to be turning your items over to buy more stock. If you aren't able to do that without robbing from your family's finances, then you're doing it wrong, right? Or you're oversourcing, which is, we know, a huge issue. So you need to be thinking about, how can I move this item today? What is my sale, discount, promoted listing for today money? Because that's the only way you're going to keep this fluid. right? That's the only way we're just going to keep rolling with it. So if we use all the tools that eBay's given us and we have good items, I have no doubt in my mind, every single person that wants to be full-time can make it work. But you also have to be able to have the time and the money and the energy to feed eBay enough to be able to get it back, right? So we don't always think about that. You can choose in the promoted listings also from fixed ad rate to the dynamic ad rate. A lot of people have good success with dynamic ad rate. I do not, but you certainly can do it. That's where you pick a floor price, or you want to do what the suggested rate is, or you want to do the suggested rate plus or minus some. I don't have amazing luck in that, but some people do. So you have to find out what works for you. I do the fixed ad rate. I do not do store promotions. I do not do off-site promotions. So if you need assistance with any of that, I'm not going to pretend to know what I'm talking about with it, because I don't. I've looked into it and it did not seem worth it to me. And therefore, I'm not going to promote doing it, because if I don't do it, I'm not going to tell you that I think it's a good idea for you to do it. So do these testings, see what it takes to get your stuff moving, see what is optimal for you and your store and your profit margins. But I just implore you to not be in a situation where we are having a museum full of used items, or we are a storage unit, because that is not what this is about. So if you have a very slow sell-through rate store and you're in a saturated market such as jewelry and clothing, try to use these tools to get things moving. Use the eBay fee calculator absolutely to see how much you're going to be left with profit. Plug those numbers in. Know what you're left with at the end. Lots of times you're going to be surprised that even after the discounts and stuff, even if you're making a $10 profit all the time, but if you're turning items really quickly, you could make a lot of money on eBay. But you have to know your numbers. You have to know how much money you have left, right? And you have to know what's acceptable to you, right? Some people are happy with making a $2 profit when it's all said and done, but doing 100 sales a day. Some people don't want to work that hard. Is either way wrong? No. The only thing that is wrong is if we're hanging on to a bunch of dead inventory and we're unwilling to use things that will make it move, and we just keep buying more of the same inventory. That's wrong to me. It doesn't work. It doesn't make business sense. It doesn't make finance sense to me. So if you find what works for you and you know your numbers and you know it's working, you're able to pay yourself, because let's face it, why are we doing this for free, right? So if we're never ever paying ourselves and never have a plan on how to pay ourselves, we're just working for free, which is silly to me. If you want to store all those things for free, you can do that. I'm not. I want to turn my items over and make money. So as long as you're making the money you need to make to cover your bills, your overhead, your sourcing, all of that, and it's working for you, then that's the right way. There's no right or wrong way about this. If you don't have any of those things and it's not working, and you're still being resistant to using these tools, and you're resistant to giving away more of your profit, or you feel like you're just giving it away, I don't know that eBay's for you, because it's the eBay platform. You got to pay to play, and you got to find, not all of us can ask the boutique prices. I will say it gets better that way. I can ask more money for items now than I could a year ago. With a 3,000 item jewelry store, I'm able to ask a little bit more money for my stuff with the good reputation that I have behind me, with my sales history I have behind me. I'm able to ask a little bit more, and that will happen to you too. Stick with it, build that good reputation. Use the discounts, let customers know they're going to get a good deal when they shop with you. All of that compounds, and you're able to ask a little bit more for your stuff. So that will happen to each and every one of you if you're willing to put in the work. So that's what I have to say about promoted listings and discounts and sales. I think all of us have to have our own way about it. And then I will add, on the weekends, I don't do it based on how long it's been listed. I have a blowout cash sale every single weekend. It's 30 to 35% off my entire store. Doesn't matter when it was listed, because I try to generate all of my cash, including my paycheck, to cover my bills and my paycheck all during the weekend. So my goal is to have a $2,500 net payout for each weekend, because then my bills are covered and my paycheck's covered, and the rest of the week is just gravy and profit money. So yes, it sounds like I'm giving away a lot, but I buy correctly, so it's not a big deal. And when you have that much cash sitting in your bank account after each weekend, it feels right. So again, you have to figure out what works for you. So does anybody have any questions about promoted listings, discounts, anything like that before I end the recording? Otherwise, I really appreciate it. And this will get added to our library of eBay refresher course. I try to do this once a year because things change, opinions change, eBay changes. And if you're not changing with it, you're going to get probably left behind or not know what's going on. So I appreciate it. And check us out on Reseller Revenue on Patreon.